name is Harvey Epstein, and I'm a state assembly member for this neighborhood, and I'm standing next to Brad Hoylman, state senator for our community. Today, we're talking about predatory equity. And for people, they don't understand what that means. It means landlords and banks who are colluding to try to take out affordable housing. It's being predatory in our community. It's happening in this neighborhood, it's happening all over the city, it's happening all over the state, and happening all over the country. And we need to do something about it. And today, we're privileged to be standing here talking about legislation that Senator Hoylman and I have introduced. This is the first step in trying to deal with predatory equity and predatory lending. And we're proud to be here with our community, standing up for justice, standing up for tenants, and standing up for fighting together. So I want to turn it over to the senator who's been the lead on this issue in this community. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Harvey. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm State Senator Brad Hoylman. Thank you, Assemblymember Epstein. It's really nice to call you that. Usually I just call him Harvey. Now right? It's a good feeling. And you know, it is appropriate that we're here today outside of the Jared Kushner real estate headquarters to talk about collusion, right? Yeah. Collusion. No, we're not just talking about that kind of collusion that led to the Russians to steal the 2016 election, right? No. But although this is as good as any to hold that kind of press conference, we're talking about a different kind of collusion, a different kind of Kushner collusion called predatory equity. Now, as Harvey said, predatory equity is when financial institutions and landlords, or slumlords more accurately, collude together to snap up properties in our neighborhood and force rent-regulated tenants out. Force them out so they can recoup their investment. Now, many believe that Jared Kushner is guilty of Russian collusion, but we know he's guilty of predatory equity collusion.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know. Is this the moment where we're supposed to start chanting, lock him up? I'm not sure. You can do that if you want.
Lock him up! 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 Lock him up!
We know that Jared Kushner owns close to 40 buildings. 40 buildings right here in the East Village. And we know some of the things that Kushner has done to force out rent-regulated tenants. Like construction harassment at 170 East 2nd Street. Dust, fumes, plaster.
That ain't right.
That ain't right. For months. A gas leak that resulted in an entire block being shut down. And 9 months after he purchased that building, 9 months, 3/4 of those rent-regulated tenants were gone. 3/4 gone and replaced with luxury tenants. Is that right?
No.
Now, we also found out recently that Kushner has falsified more than 80 work permits involving 24 buildings in the city. He stated falsely that there were no tenants in those buildings, so he didn't have to provide protections.
No, that was
right?
a clerical error.
Right.
That was a clerical error.
Construction without permits.
So, predatory equity is wrong. It's wrong for landlords to buy buildings on spec when they don't have the capital to operate them. It's wrong for these landlords to force tenants out by using harassment and other legal and illegal proceedings to force a quick buck.
Criminal.
And it's wrong for financial institutions. It's wrong for financial institutions to loan to these landlords in the first place. So we're here today to say this must stop, and New York has to do something about it. Am I right?
Yes.
Now that's why the Assemblymember and I are introducing the first bill in the state legislature to address the issue of predatory equity. We need the state's Department of Financial Services to investigate, to shine a spotlight, to examine and understand what's going on. predatory equity is rampant here in New York City. 100,000 rent-regulated units are at risk of predatory equity. 159 buildings in New York City are subject to predatory equity. And it's not just Jared Kushner. It's Rafael Toledano.
That's right.
It's Ben Schall.
Yeah.
It's Steve Croman.
Yeah.
Remember, he just flew the coop last week. Now, if Steve Croman, as they call him, if he's the Bernie Madoff of landlords, what does that make Jared Kushner? I was thinking about this. Is he the Donald Trump of landlords? Is he the Mike Flynn of landlords? Is he the Paul Manafort of landlords? Maybe he's just a Jared Kushner of landlords. But whatever he is, whether it's Kushner, Croman, Toledano, the state of New York, as the Assembly member has said, the state of New York needs to act now, needs to stamp out predatory equity, needs to understand what our community is undergoing when it comes to predatory equity, and the banks have to have a higher standard when they give these loans. So I'm so proud to be here with everyone here to say predatory equity must go.
Hey, hey.
Hey ho! Predatory equity got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Predatory equity got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Predatory equity's got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Predatory equity's got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Predatory equity's got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Thank
Hi everybody. I was asked to talk about how I felt about my landlord Steve Croman being let out of jail. But the truth is that jail didn't actually change anything. Jail didn't give Croman pause to reflect on his crimes. Jail didn't make Croman consider respecting the law or his tenants. And jail didn't alter Croman's predatory style. Jail was simply business as usual when it came to 9300. It was hardline, unreasonable, and aggressive towards tenants yet again. Because from his cell, Steve continued to show us his teeth. And they're the same teeth he's always had, except they're sharper and they're bigger with a big bite. Because even from jail, we discovered Steve Croman plays hardball. At 141 Ridge Street, he's made no attempt to fix the gas issue allegedly caused by illegal piping installed during 9300 renovations. He's avoided discussing a rent rebate after Con Ed shut down our gas over 8 months ago. And when finally, through sheer desperation, we went on rent strike, Croman used the opportunity to slap a non-payment case on us and take us to court. So how do I feel about Croman being out of jail, in jail, or out of jail? Myself and every other Croman tenant I've spoken to recently feel unsafe, feel like an easy target, and as rent-stabilised tenants, feel nervous about losing our homes as per usual. Nothing's changed in the way Croman conducts business, and why would it? If a bank he defrauded continues to do business with him, why would he do anything differently? If a 25-year sentence is reduced to 1 year and then he's out in 10 months for good behaviour, why would his hardline philosophies change? And if Croman's allowed to renew his real estate licence or transfer it to a family member, what has he or any other landlord got to lose? If agencies like DOB, HPD and DHCR aren't engaged enough with rule enforcement, monitoring permits and collecting fines that truly hurt a landlord's pocket, then what's to deter Croman or any other landlord from future bad behaviour? So with all that in mind, I would like to thank you on behalf of New York tenants for addressing predatory landlord issues today. You show us that you won't leave tenants in a vulnerable position any longer, and you reassure us that such landlords will soon be answerable to stronger legislation created by you. So Senator Brad Hoylman and Assembly Member Harvey Epstein and all elected officials and advocates here, if you ask me how I feel today, at this press conference, knowing that you're fighting the good fight for tenants, I'm sure I can speak for many of us in saying that I feel good. I feel safer, I feel more protected, and I'm hopeful that the impact of your new legislation will keep our city's spirit, tenacity, and community values alive and well.
Yeah.